Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.
G'day, Rockhound here! The Closed Alpha for Embark Studios' first game, the finals, went live just over 12 hours ago, and I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to jump into the game and play a few rounds. The game is under an NDA, which means I can't post video or screenshots of it, but I can give you my day one review of the Closed Alpha version of this FPS game while we watch the trailer in the background. By the way, if you registered for the Closed Alpha and still don't have a key for it, keep an eye on your email as keys will continue to be sent out by Embark Studios throughout the Closed Alpha period, which ends on October 3rd. So firstly, I'll talk about the game in general, filling in a bit more detail for you now that I know the game, then cover the good points, then the things that need working on to improve the game, or are just outright bad at the moment, and then lastly give you my brief overall thoughts about the game. If you're unfamiliar with what the finals is, I suggest you watch my last video, which is linked above, as that runs through the basics of the game and provides some additional info. Okay, let's talk about the game in general. When you first jump into the game, you're taken through a brief tutorial which explains that there are three main objectives. Get to a vault, as they are officially called, or cash box, as I called them in my last video, and unlock it and then pick it up. Carry that vault to a cash out, or what I called an ATM in my last video, and deposit the vault into it, defending it while the cash transfers. And if you can, steal other teams' cash by intercepting the transfer of it at cash outs before it finishes. Doing these things better than the other teams will put you ahead and through the 3 rounds that the Closed Alpha matches have. They're really pretty straightforward objectives. Now before you join a game, you have the opportunity to choose a class of contestant. They come in light build, medium build, and heavy build. Each body size comes with its own choice of abilities, primary weapons, and for all characters this weapon choice becomes your primary and only gun, so you do not have a secondary gun, and you get 3 gadgets as well. The body sizes also impact relative HP levels, so you can really choose the way you want to play by choosing a different type of body type. The light build has 3 abilities to choose from. Firstly, Cloak, which is a temporary cloaking mechanism that makes you hard to see when moving and actually invisible when you're stationary. Then Grappling Hook, this allows you to traverse the map quickly and get on top of structures fast. And Dash, this allows you to make a few quick dashes to get to places fast or dodge out of the way. For a weapon, the light build has the choice of an SMG, revolver, suppressed pistol, sniper rifle, or sword. There is also a choice of skins for your weapon in the alpha, which I didn't actually expect. Then you can choose 3 gadgets or explosives from a collection that include frag, smoke, gas, or EMP grenades, and a thermal vision gadget or a breaching charge. Now the medium build has 2 abilities to choose from. Firstly, Recon Vision, which makes targets visible through structures for a limited time, and that weakens with distance to the target. You also can choose a Dome Shield, which protects you and anyone inside it, and the shield can be damaged by attacks. For a weapon, the medium build has the choice of an automatic AK rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, a grenade launcher, and a lever-action shotgun. Then you can choose 3 gadgets from a collection that includes frag, incendiary, and sonar grenades, the goo gun, a tracking dart gun, a zip line that you and other players can use, and a healing station. Then we move on to the heavy build, which has 2 abilities to choose from. The first is called Charge, which propels you forward in a burst of speed, allowing you to smash through walls and other objects. And then Ground Slam. This is a leap followed by a ground slam that causes destruction and knocks back opponents that are nearby. For a weapon, the heavy build has the choice of a flamethrower, an LMG, so an M60, a semi-automatic shotgun, and a sledgehammer. Then you can choose 3 gadgets from a collection that includes a rocket launcher, an anti-projectile system turret that is a defensive weapon, C4, a deployable shield, and a guardian turret that you can set up and leave, as well as a frag grenade, an incendiary mine, and a normal mine. I think the range and choice of weapons and gadgets is actually pretty good for an alpha, and I'll talk about how they affect play shortly. Characters also come with a choice of cosmetics and looks, as well as poses that are displayed as the teams are introduced before each round, which is a pretty good selection for a closed alpha. There's also a non-functioning store already up, so you can see other cosmetics that you'll be able to buy, probably once the game is in a state that makes sense to start with that. You can also complete what are known as contracts in the game by completing various goals and earning points as you play, and that allows you to get some of the entry-level cosmetic items right now. Okay, now let's talk about what playing the game is like. Number one, by far, is that I had a hell of a lot of fun playing it. There were some hilariously chaotic moments and some clutch saves by my teammates that made me smile a heck of a lot. And when I jumped off the game to start making this video today, I just really wanted to stay in the game for the day instead, which I think is a great sign. The simplicity of the goals in the game actually makes for a really good game structure. Find cash, bank it, or steal it, and you're fighting the opposing teams the whole time. It really is a team-based game, and you definitely need the strengths that each of your team has, and you have to work together to capture vaults, deliver them to the cash-out boxes, and defend them, or if you can't do that, at least try and steal cash from your opponents as they try and achieve those things. The map is very well laid out, allows you to explore every single part of it, and is ripe for polishing into a fantastic looking little village. It is also absolutely packed with things that you can destroy or blow up. There are propane tanks, explosive drums, and so on everywhere. Varying weather and daytime conditions are also fun, and nighttime lighting is pretty damn fine for a closed alpha. Gameplay variations are thrown into the map in the form of a meteor shower, which is kind of like an artillery barrage, or moments where gravity in the game is actually reduced, which currently seems to actually fit the gameplay pretty well. The destruction in the game is completely and utterly freeform, which is brilliant and insanely chaotic. One moment you're on the third floor of a building, then you jump out to avoid dying, and then you go to run back up the stairs, only to find that your opponents have smartly blown them up, preventing your access. Several times I fell through a falling building and landed hilariously in the rubble next to the fallen cash-out box that I was striving to get to. Positional play varies from being in the alleys and streets to going from room to room in any building on the map to jumping from balcony to balcony to traversing from rooftop to rooftop. There is ample vaulting for all of these things, although sometimes the animations for the vaulting can be a little bit clunky. There is also no fall damage in the game, so you can almost always find a way to get somewhere quickly, even if it just means jumping straight off a building. Now there are zip lines and rather slow moving elevators that you can use to make your way up to the top of a roof. I'll talk more about one character build that struggles with traversing across the map in a moment. Firing weapons is mostly very good, especially for an alpha. ADSing is good and weapons seem responsive, and the animations look on par for where an alpha should be coming from developers like these guys who have a lot of FPS experience. The gadgets vary in how well they work. The goo gun is an awesome way to prevent enemies getting to where they want to go. Fill doorways, stairwells, and so on with the goo, and it makes it very hard for them to gain access to that location without having to go another way. The abilities for each character can help a lot. So for instance, I used the cloak ability with the small build character and used both a sniper rifle and then tried using an SMG and found that both of those combinations worked really well. Okay, there's a lot of things I like about the game, but let's talk about what doesn't work so well or what I think needs changing. The number one worst thing in the game by far is the respawn delay. Respawns seem to average around 30 to 40 seconds, and at worst, I had a respawn time of 112 seconds. This was massively frustrating in an 8-minute round because I felt helpless while I waited to jump back in and help my teammates. And then when I did respawn, I had to run across the map, which added even more time. Now my team made it to the final round several times and it was a close match only to lose because we couldn't respawn back in fast enough to do anything meaningful with the time that was remaining. It made us feel like we were robbed of the chance of that amazing uplifting moment where we gained back the lead in the last few moments of the finals simply because we had to wait. I would like to see the respawn time reduced or scaled from longer at the start of the match to almost insta-spawns near the end of the match so that the game becomes more about the action or at worst some time spent traversing the map to get to the action. Fortunately, respawn time is something that the Embark Studios developers will be able to adjust pretty easily. And while it's terrible at the moment, it should be an easy fix, but currently it kind of makes the game feel like a Ferrari that has square wheels. Probably the second most frustrating thing I found is traversing the map if you are a heavy build character. Now they don't have a grappling hook or their own zip line of any kind and are relatively slow moving. And their rocket launcher at the moment also needs a buff, so they often get stuck walking upstairs to try and join the action and arrive when the party is long over. So I'd like to see the heavy build's ability to bring the party to them increased. So have the rocket launcher being buffed to bring down more of a building in one shot could help with that issue. Alright, weapons. Weapon balancing in the game right now is all over the place, which comes as no surprise really for an FPS in an alpha state. For instance, LMGs are probably a bit underpowered and there's not enough damage and destruction from rocket launchers and explosives. I'm also not really a fan of having no secondary weapon and not being able to shoot a pistol while you're carrying a cash vault. So what ends up happening is that a lot of people just throw the vault ahead of them as they run along so they can be prepared for combat if it turns up. It's an odd meta, and my preference really would be that you can just carry the cash vault and be able to fire a secondary pistol at the same time. Of course, being an alpha, there are dozens more minor things that need tweaking. Sometimes it can be hard to see other players, and the light ranges from amazing in some places to tricky in others. Turrets are too weak, and as I mentioned before, so are rocket launchers. There's probably also not enough splash damage from them either, and so on. However, all of these things, I think, are relatively easy to tweak and work towards improving for the next playtest and so on. Overall, I reckon the finals in its alpha state could actually be considered almost a type specimen for how a great FPS should play at alpha. Definitely lots of things to tweak, some of which need a lot of changing, but overall, it's lots of fun and the sort of game that you just want to jump back into over and over. At day one, I think Embark Studios have potentially got an amazing game at their fingertips and one that is definitely taking the FPS genre to new places. So I, for one, am cautiously optimistic and can't wait to see where they take the game to from here as they head towards more playtests and a launch hopefully for the end of the year. Now, I hope you found this day one review of the finals closed alpha helpful. I'm sorry I couldn't provide any video to go along with it, but that's just the way it goes with an NDA. If you'd like to see more of these videos, please subscribe. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha, stay strong.